Hello, welcome to Week Didn't Start. It's January 15th.
17th.
What is it, the 19th?
Wait, what the fuck? What day is it? Oh, wait, I have it on my calendar. It is the 19th.
Hey, everybody. It's January 19th, 2020. This is Week Didn't Start. I'm here with Sam Corbin.
I'm here with Jerzy Gwiazdowski. Am I also allowed to say your name?
Please. Are you sick of this yet?
A little bit, but
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like I'm getting Stockholmed in that I just keep thinking about what it will be like on, December 31st. I've done this for a year, and that's keeping me going in week 2.
I think by June, we'll just be speaking in this song all the time. Like, the way our brains will work is we'll just process everything in ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba,
Speaking of, this week, I found myself writing the news down immediately in the meter. Didn't even like my first pass, my attach link writing was in the form. Billie Eilish James Bond theme. Stalker Show gets season 3. Like all of it. It's also becoming for sure more automatic.
Yeah.
Like not just the meter, but the humor in the meter. So immediately when I write down the link or I attach the link, the first thing that comes out of my brain is the kind of salty, tongue-in-cheek version of the news.
Oh, that's great.
That's
I think that comes through. Yours has more kick, I think, than mine. I start from a very dry place. So I had to flex myself into kind of doing a little bit more tweaking this time around. But I do think, I think moving forward, we should have the news stories we're going to cover in our respective verses if we do this way in a shared doc. Because we have a lot of overlaps.
Yeah, I think we should.
This week. But I think it's fun. I mean, you were saying before we started, the idea of like seeing how we each do it is kind of cool.
Yes.
Oh, the premise of the show, by the way, is that we use the lyrical structure of Billy Joel's song, We Didn't Start the Fire, to recap the week's news, in case you haven't caught on to that
if you're just tuning in for the first time. This week, another thing that I did that surprised me was I started using multiple segments to tell the same story. So the way that We Didn't Start the Fire is broken up is, lists of names, or it's a list song. And in some cases, I just decided 2 items on the list are going to be the same thing, because the responsible way to create an impression of the ratio, or the scale, I should say, of this one piece of news to another is to allow it to take up more space, which is interesting because I don't know that from a form perspective, it didn't feel like the best solution, but from a spiritual, cultural perspective, it did.
Yeah, that's a difference. Okay, so we do this thing, I guess, where we talk about what the week was like and then what we think about the song and then what we want to do moving forward. But there's a difference between recapping 40 years of history and you say Trouble in the Suez or like Harry Truman, like that, it covers a lot of news, But there are these developing stories where we think we know something. I mean, the ongoing Iran story and about the plane that was subsequently shot down and the way the news comes out, it's had so many mentions over the course of just these first 2 songs. Or the baseball sign stealing scandal. So I had a thing where it was like, oh, this thing happened in Monday. And then I also had Wednesday.
To confirm, what happened on Monday?
Monday was like the story dropped that the Astros...
Oh, so they had been doing it for years and it only came out...
It was like discovered or scooped on Monday. And then the ball kept rolling. As you know, as someone who has done journalism things, right? Like things come out over the course of a week. So it's not like we're looking back on it and recapping. We're kind of in it. So there's Monday, and then I have like baseball something escalates, like on Wednesday.
What an interesting question. Like if Billy Joel were doing this song in today's day.
Billy Joel, come on the show.
If he were doing that, like would he describe that cheating scandal in the time that it happened or in the time it was reported? Because I actually don't know. Like looking at his song, like we've talked about on previous episodes, it has spanned so much time that there's no scrutiny being applied to whether he was listing it in the order that it happened. I think reasonably it was chronological order, right? Yeah. Of the events, not the news. But what we're doing is, like we've said, a lot more granular.
Oh, yeah. Like, what are the events and what's the news?
And in many ways, what we've set out to do on a soft level is report the events. But the way that we're navigating the workflow is reporting the news. Which is not a criticism against how we're doing this, but it is a distinction worth mentioning. For our savvy listeners.
That is something I honestly had not considered. I mean, that distinction until now in the news is how we get the events. But when it's in real time, you don't have that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he can say Rosenberg's H-bomb, and we know what all that is. But we're like, this is how much we knew about Iran today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting question. I mean, I remember talking to my family about OJ because I'm slightly too young to have been glued to my television during the OJ trial. In fact, what year was it happening?
94, 95.
I was 4 years old. So I didn't have the sense that something of such a massive scale was happening.
Right.
But my brothers, who are slightly older than I am, have both said, like, you don't really appreciate that this is all we cared about every day. You know, we would just watch the news unfold. But the entire thing can be kind of summed up in a, you know, retrospective sense as OJ trial or like, right? This like...
Sure.
And you could go deeper into it and say, OJ tries on the glove, evidence found here, you know. But the most appropriate way to sum up the cultural moment is People versus O.J. Simpson.
So, yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like the way that news, we get news is different now, right? So I have my sources that I go to. And then when I seek out things for this show specifically, part of it's like the news sources that I look to. And part of it's who does recaps, you know?
Yeah, interestingly enough, this week I also, so in an attempt to get more world news, I put the word world into a Google keyword search under the news tab.
Yeah.
And what I ended up with was a series of stories about, speaking of superlatives, because we were having a conversation about superlatives earlier this evening, a series of studies released on those days about most expensive cities in the world, most dangerous cities in the world. This has been determined to be the world's best this. And what was particularly interesting about that is that's not world news. I mean, it kind of is world news, but it's more like world as the news keyword gives you that. But coming from, you know, a blog world, when we used to write stories, those studies being released, like those actually made their way into my verses a lot more than they usually would have. But I was thinking about how they are these kind of defining new study shows, coffee will not kill you or whatever. It's like those things are, I guess, negligible in a cultural sense, but they are kind of like the most meme-ifiable things for a short period of time. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, I wanted to do a little breakout because you mentioned because we talked about this last week too, the Google News tab, and you do the 1 day term, right? And then what are the words that you put in the search? Okay. Because I've had things that were great and things that were terrible.
I've got 4 words for you.
Great.
News.
So you go to the news tab and you search news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
I've
surprisingly reliable
Decent,
as a source. Here's going to be a spicy one. The.
Yeah, because I've done the same thing. I'm so glad that I asked you about this because it's like I don't want another term. I just want the news tab from that day.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just give me everything. So the is great.
Yeah, except that for some reason that just turns up a ton of news stories by The Verge, the website. The Verge, sure, technology website. Also, I mean, I don't know how Google's SEO works or how their inner workings, the machinations and who's paying whom, but I will say there's an awful lot of Fox News. It's a popular platform. Yeah. Do you know what the number 1 news platform in the world is? Twitter. Facebook. Oh, wow. Ugh, it's so depressing. By far, yeah. It's so fucking depressing. Especially because the algorithm buries so many things. It's so irresponsible. Well, and you can just lie. Yeah. 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 Well, on a more fun We're going to tell the truth on this pod. So just before we go through the verses. Oh, I was also going to say more keywords I used. Oh, right. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I want more. Then I used the word meme. Oh, yep. I've done. Okay, so that's 3. You've done this exact Let's see if we have all 4 the same. It's news, the meme, world. Oh, and world. What was your 4th? I didn't use world. That's a good one. I've been using today. Oh. But then I just got a bunch of stuff from the Today Show. But by the time you get to like the 3rd page, it's like things that happened today, right? Right. Or I haven't yet tried breaking, which might be interesting. Ooh. Or just in, or things like that. But it's a very bleak way to search for news.
Any other strats you want to share after this week? Because this, again, is the first time we've done the week.
I think that I'm enjoying generally is trying to be a more active, trying to be my own RSS feed where, you know, I'll be on Twitter and instead of feeling like it's just this sea of things, if I see, no pun intended, some kind of news article that was just shared, I just grab it and drop it into the link, into the doc for the day.
Yeah.
Because because the news that you end up wanting to recap is not necessarily the news that you want to read on the day. Some of it's mindless, some of it's just breaking, cresting. So, yeah, I've just been trying to be a little more proactive and not do the back searching only. Mm-hmm. What about you? Well,
I found, I kind of came hot out of the gate on Monday, and it was all pretty populated with stuff. And it was so much easier to follow, but I was off. You know, I was not working or whatever. So I was kind of able to check in periodically with the news, and I found Twitter to be a great resource on the day. Twitter, after the day you're capping, is useless because it's the stream.
Absolutely. It's very hard to search, yeah.
But I found so much just via Twitter.
Actually, going back to think about that, there is a way, I'm not sure how I did it, but I seem to remember looking up like a trending tab for a day. You could see what was trending on a day.
Oh, is that true?
I think. Am I making this up? I could have sworn that I was able, maybe I just used the trending tab on the day, which I had not done before. It is really handy. In fact, yes, I did do it on the day because that's how I found the Vince Vaughn article, which I didn't end up sharing because searching led me to see that the LSU game had been on Monday. So that's why I didn't end up putting LSU in my thing and why I ended up putting it in the doc. Yeah.
Oh, I also found that just how did you describe yourself? Devious?
Dastardly.
Dastardly, even better. If you do Monday, you get a little piece of Sunday as a treat, you know, because we're recording this to part the curtain a little bit Sunday night. How do you feel about your stuff?
I feel good. I mean, you know, it's fun. And like I said, I did some things that were different almost in form in terms of writing. But this was definitely from a purely writing perspective, much easier than last week. Like it felt naturally like, all right, it almost felt like, I'll just say the phrase Tetris brain, where you're trying to, you know, interlock things. And there are certain things that naturally I was like, well, this has to come before this because it's bigger news, even though it happened a day later. Like it's in the grand scheme of how this narrative plays out, it would be irresponsible to put it too late in the verse. So that revealed itself to me in the writing process. And I'm enjoying it more. It feels a little bit faster. How about you?
Yeah, it felt easier, although we had fewer days that we were covering. I think because, and this was my suspicion last week, that we kind of dig into more minor stories because we had 12 days to cover with this huge international incident. Not that there weren't huge international incidents this week, but this felt like what I thought the thing was going to be when I asked you to do it, which is like this wide variety of stuff. It was fast and furious, things we couldn't have seen coming, and we're learning about how we process it. And I learned some stuff about the way we do this and about the news during the week. So it felt like the first one in earnest for a number of reasons version of this song, which is to say we only have 4 out of the 5 verses, and then we got to write the 5th.
Great.
So shall we dig into the song?
Sure.
All right. Verse 1. Bong Joon-ho, LSU, British Royal Ballyhoo, protest rising in Iran, Cory Booker out. Baseball cheating, revelations, more bad Oscar nominations, Esper saw no evidence, Kansas City rout. You know how it goes. Eruption in the Philippines, New Jersey vaccines, Vince Vaughn awestruck, Derrick Henry runs amok, Serena wins ASB, Georges Dubois, RIP, retirement strike in France, White House given press demands.
Nuclear diplomacy, Britain and France and Germany, dem debate, Times Now states, missile struck twice. Mississippi VJZ, stalker show gets season 3, migrant sent to Mexico, Warren plays nice. Flynn withdraws his guilty plea, basketball, salaries, fast food served with hands down pants, Murdoch's son, climate stance, Billie Eilish, James Bond, DMs on the .com, Windows 7 goes to heaven, jet fuel in the schoolyard.
I think you get to keep that one. Surveillance on Jovanovic, Kashmir, Avalanche, Appleverse, FBI, pig flies in Uruguay, Delta plane drops fuel on kids, low emissions in Madrid, women ballers getting paid, Puerto Rico needs more aid. Chief Justice Boomer, Angry Chuck Schumer, Whitney Biggie Hall of Fame, escalating baseball shame, Billie Eilish Bond theme, anti-missile laser beam, former Pope versus current Pope, Iran missile video.
Ooh, I'm going to ask about pig flies in Uruguay later.
we can do a little recap.
Okay, here we go. Aladiki Ilhan, luxury in Hong Kong, Giuliani, watch Marie, okay boomer, go supreme, sepsis kills 1 in 5, USCMA revived, Trump still planning Davos, Sanders wins the Numtod votes, Black News Channel, Florida, stocks soar in Australia, Senate takes impeachment case, what else do I have to say?
Week didn't start. Okay, that's the first 4. Yeah. Did you have any things in Monday that you were like, what is that?
I wanted to call out that I really appreciate that you used ballyhoo, because that word, as we were saying, it's like it has nothing to do with the news. Like, it's not a buzzword that they used, but it does aptly describe the sentiment about the drama.
It's like ongoing, because there was more stuff about it all week.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to give like update specifically about it. It's just like this, and ballyhoo is too much attention, too much fuss. Yeah.
I will say, like, I didn't catch the news stories that were Espersano evidence, Kansas City route, eruption in the Philippines, New Jersey vaccines. Those are all foreign to me.
Got it.
A lot of these actually in the last
There was a big
part.
volcano that blew up in the Philippines.
Don't know who Derrick Henry is.
So yeah, Kansas City route, Derrick Henry runs amok are both NFL things.
Okay, got it.
New Jersey vaccines was a New Jersey Supreme Court case, or a circuit court case about the exemption for vaccine requirements for religious purposes, and the exemption was upheld. So there's a big fight.
Yeah.
So that was a thing.
Wow. Everything else feels relatively look-upable.
So I want to hear a little bit about, I suspect in your Tuesday verse, this is where you said you like started to mess with the form.
Yes.
Where did that come in?
First two lines especially. Yeah. So nuclear diplomacy, Britain, France, and Germany. Britain, France, and Germany were the 3 countries that engaged in nuclear diplomacy by submitting this kind of ultimatum to Iran to re-enter the nuclear deal. Mm-hmm. I immediately read the phrase Britain, France, and Germany in the news story and put it right into a verse.
Yes.
And then was reading about what they were asking Iran to do. The second line in that verse is Dem debate, Times now states missiles struck twice. So Tuesday was the day that the Times confirmed that the validity of a video that showed that there were 2 missiles that struck Flight 752. So the struggle of where to put that news and how to emphasize it was really interesting, because also last week we talked about how the news reporting these acts of war, or news reporting things that could be considered acts of war, was its own challenge, which kind of fed into how I wrote this. So like Times now states missile struck twice felt important to say, because it was, it just felt like part of the news was that the Times has obtained the video that shows that missiles struck twice.
Yeah.
It also felt like a more sensitive way to describe something that would otherwise be have all of these kind of gaps in understanding, like was it intentional, was it not, so that was one approach to that. And then the other piece of that is my original verse my original line in the second verse was Dem debate 6 candidates Iowa something. I opted not to do that. I thought about doing like basically jamming the full story over the course of many comma line list lines, but it is just about giving the weight to the things that you feel are important.
Yeah.
I think that's everything in that one. Yeah.
Oh, what's DMs on the .com?
Instagram DMs are now available from a browser.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, Instagram DMs on web.
Oh, DMs on the .com is great.
Thank you.
I just missed that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of overlap. But I like seeing the way we do.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have the Jovanovic thing?
Yes. Giuliani watched Marie. So truly wild because what was your version? Surveillance on Yovanovitch.
I just had Yovanovitch and Avalanche, and I was like,
yeah,
that's good.
That's great. That's great. I mean, my angle that I wanted to somehow incorporate was Giuliani and Yovanovitch as names because they're just so rich.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think Giuliani deserves as much mockery as we can fit into any line. So I was just trying to figure out a way to rope his name into that story segment, which is why I chose her first name.
Oh, on Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh, you want to know about pig flies in Uruguay?
Oh, yes, I do.
So this was like some prankster dropped a pig from a helicopter into a luxury pool.
Okay.
Of this wealthy person as like a stunt. Mm-hmm. That's the story.
As a treat.
As a treat.
The pig didn't fly, or it did fly. No, wait, what am I saying?
It was dropped from a helicopter.
I cannot believe I just asked the question, did the pig spread its wings and fly? I was like...
It spread its arms.
Look at this.
And it spread its hooves and it was dropped into a pool.
Well, the reason that I asked is because, for me, pig flies in Uruguay, I imagined that something absurd happened in Uruguay that you would think only when pigs fly. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I went with fly rather than swim, because I thought a pig swims in Uruguay. Pig flies.
Pig dropped in no.
Pig swims in Uruguay.
Pork chopped. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and we have the kids.
I'm glad you included Puerto Rico needs more aid. I had a similar story that I didn't include, but it was like the Puerto Rico coping with the fallout from these events. I think because we are so micro or granular about how we report this, I do like and this ongoing issue continues.
Well, and it was based on a news item about like a complaint that, someone sent to the White House or something. But I mean, it felt, more global or more ongoing. There are a number of those stories. Puerto Rico, I mean, like the Democratic nominations stuff, all that stuff.
Yeah.
There could be because there are all these little data points throughout about like the things that they said during, after the debate, on the microphones caught it and all that stuff.
Right.
And Iran, obviously, royal family. I mean, there's so many. There's like ongoing wars in a bunch of countries.
Whitney Biggie.
Oh, that was your thing that you put on. You put that in the list of things. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh,
so
okay,
Whitney Houston and Notorious
yes,
B.I.G. are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class.
Oh, and there's actually a good example of a time when you take a list, a series of commas, and they're all part of the same story. Whitney Biggie Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So it's England, France, and Germany. Baseball shame, Bond theme. Huge news this week. Apparently, we both got it.
Yeah, and then in mine, is there anything in my Thursday?
Oh, luxury in Hong Kong?
So Hong Kong, determined by a study done by a private bank as it happened, determined that Hong Kong is the most expensive city to live in. Apparently it's impossible to afford a lawyer there even. They said that the lawyers' fees were some of the most expensive and also among all the other things. So I was trying to figure out how to list that, most expensive Hong Kong, it didn't make sense. So I was like, well, what's the story here is that Hong Kong is the most luxurious city. So that's why I called it luxury in Hong Kong.
Oh, and Black News Channel Florida.
Yes, did you know about this?
No.
There is the BNC, the Black News Channel, launched in Tallahassee, Florida.
Great.
Do you know about Numtot?
No. Sanders? No. Sanders wins the Numtot votes. What are the Numtot votes?
Numtot votes. So this was in my search of the keyword of memes. Numtot is, I gotta remember this. Something memes, transit obsessed teens. It's a leftist Facebook group of transit obsessed teens who are intense memers, and they formally endorsed Sanders as their candidate. I just loved it. I loved that story.
That's great.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is some endorsement or something.
No, it was a very small. I just love how minor that is. They are not a formal body in any way, but I'm sure securing the leftist Facebook teens is important.
Also, that feels like it wasn't a close,
Yeah. Were they considering Biden? Then they
they were like, we love Mayor Pete. We're gonna go with Sanders.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to write this verse 5.
We do.
Who's Begin?
Oh, Begin is the Israeli prime minister?
That sounds right.
Yeah, you're talking about as a history piece.
Yeah. Begin, Reagan, Palestine.
No host No host at the SAG Awards.
No host at the SAG Awards.
Something House of Lords.
Yeah,
What's new with the House of Lords?
The House of Lords might move out of London to reconnect with the people.
Oh my God.
This broke today.
Okay, one more. One more, and then I can't take it anymore.
Oh. Congress limits use of force.
Oh, did they pass that recently?
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
Love it. This is good.
Do you want to do the honors?
Lev Parnas sidekick, National Archives doctored pick, Dow surge, school lunch purge, Disney axes Yoda scourge, Iowa awash with Dems, why are we not winning them? Bezos not the richest man, Calgary conversion ban, Kushner's time, oh my god, Kushner's time is not so cute, Penny toothbrush leads the suit, Azaria is not Apu, when is the Circle season 2, no host at the SAG Awards, new address for House of Lords, Zoomers fear a third world war, I can't take it anymore.
It's good. All right, we did it. That's first 5. That's the week.
I honestly, it's like, oh God,